Israel is mentioned 2,540 times in the Bible. Israel is a significant place on planet Earth. It is written, "For you are a set-apart people to Yahweh, your Elohim." Yahweh has chosen you to be a people for himself, a treasured possession, above all the peoples on the face of the earth, for Yahweh has chosen Zion.
Shalom everyone, and this is the Israel Update with your hosts James and Avigayle O'Hare. We're so thankful that you're here today, and we're just excited about bringing some more truth and uncovering things that need to be heard, that need to be spoken about, because we can't be ostriches and hide our head in the sand, but we need to lift up our voices, be lights, as Yeshua said. And the light we are is set on a hill, not under a bushel. It's set on a lampstand for all to benefit from. So we want to be lights. I want to be heralds and speak out concerning what's going on in the world regarding Israel and our Jewish brothers and sisters, but also that also ties into all of us. You know, what happens over in the Middle East ties into what's going on here, and it just culminates, and we just need to talk about these things so that we can head these things off of the past.
Yes. For Zion's sake, we will not be silenced. We have to be a voice. We have to be a voice. It is a way of piercing the darkness. And I found a letter, and it's a letter to Nancy Pelosi, who is the Speaker of the House, and it's from the National Zionist Organization of America. And it says, "Dear Madam Speaker, we are writing to you to express our profound, even frightened concern, and indeed our pained astonishment that you have decided to appoint newly elected legislator Representative Ilhan Omar to the House Foreign Affairs Committee. We cannot believe that Representative Omar has been appointed to the committee on the strength on any particular expertise or competence she holds in foreign affairs. We do know, however, that Representative Omar has a horrific and frightening record of viciously anti-Israel actions that amount to anti-Semitism as defined by the State Department definition of anti-Semitism as determined in its May 2016 document defining anti-Semitism. Representative Omar's hatred of the Jewish state of Israel renders her hopelessly biased against Israel, making it impossible to make a reasonable, rational decision on any issue concerning Israel and the Arab Islamic world. Far from marginalizing her, disowning her views, and disassociating herself from her, as you would have undoubtedly done, were Representative Omar guilty of comparably vicious statements actively in hatred against African Americans, Muslims, gay people, you have seen fit to actually reward her by appointing her to the House Foreign Relations Committee. Your appointment of Representative Omar sends a frightening message that vicious anti-Israel actions and anti-Semitism is acceptable and thus serves to mainstream and legitimize anti-Semitism and Israel bashing. Something we have thought would be anathema to the Democratic Party or any respected American political party.
That's very interesting. I mean, I'm just going to stop you there because you mentioned a few things that I think need to be defined. One is Zionism. What is Zionism? And Zionism, the definition basically is an international movement originally for the establishment of a Jewish state in the area back then they called Palestine, but again, if you've heard this show before, if you've heard this update before, you understand that Palestine is a misnomer. And just look it up, and it's been around for 2,000 years, but it's never been a state. It was a creation of the Roman Empire, but it's always been the state of Israel since the time of David and taking Jerusalem. But it's for that modern support, and so there's Christian Zionists and Jewish Zionists that support a homeland, support the land of Israel being for our Jewish brothers and sisters, and we understand it to be expanded also to us because that's part of our inheritance. If we are in Messiah, we're Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise, as it says in Galatians. So that was one thing, and then the other thing you mentioned, Abigail, was that because one thing you have to kind of say is why are we, talking about this one congresswoman? She's one of 435. There's 435 members of Congress, and we're talking about this one. I mean, there's a few of them in there that we could talk about and we could have a lot of information on, but this particular one, who's a Somali born woman, refugee that came over here to Minnesota and became an American citizen through whatever the means were. I mean, more than likely legal means in some cases. There are some reports out there, but if you can't substantiate a report, don't even talk about it. I mean, it's really it's more hearsay than anything. So we don't like to do that. But but now this woman, a freshman congresswoman, is in the Congress of the United States, and she's placed on the Foreign Affairs Committee of the House by Nancy Pelosi. And what does the Foreign Affairs Committee do? It has jurisdiction over bills and investigations related to the foreign affairs of the United States. So that has a lot to do with the Middle East. It has a lot to do with all over the country, China, Russia, all this, but specifically for this topic, the Middle East. So she has a say, and she can be, and she's been extremely anti-Semitic in the past with her comments and her tweets, and tried to explain some of them away, but others that she didn't even care to talk about it, because and just recently, because of the incident that she had with calling out AIPAC, which is a lobbying group for Israel, and there's thousands of lobbyists in Washington, so this is just one of thousands. And she called them out and called them basically and called out other politicians, basically, paying the politicians for votes for Israel, and then she got called out on that. And Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam leader, basically told her, don't apologize. You have nothing to apologize for. So this is really kind of new in American politics, where we now have two or three that are two Muslims at least in the Congress, and a lot of Muslim sympathizers, which has never happened before. So I just wanted to bring that up to date.
Yeah, the thing is, it's definitely there's a war going on because our greatest ally is Israel, and in the political ramifications of the United States of America. But as far as us, all of us who are Torah observant and we believe in the Word of God, the Bible, Israel is a very significant place on planet Earth where our Messiah is going to return, and it is a very fruitful land. That property is extremely important in the eyes of the Most High, and it's flourishing. So when you have this tongue coming forth from this woman that has nothing at all good to say about Israel, she just spews out lies. She spews out words that cause division, And not everybody understands Israel. Not everybody has done any research on Israel. If they have, they've read books that are extremely slanted, propaganda books, calling Israel an apartheid country. It is not. You can't even begin to relate that to that explanation. And she's extremely pro boycott, divestment, so that people will not purchase anything from Israel. She is a definite voice to destroy Israel, to destroy Judah, to destroy anyone, that would be anyone that has anything to do with the nation, the house, the land of Israel. So when you start to hear this, and you look at this person, and this is another thing that, we have to be very careful not to be distracted by the outer, because you want to listen to what people are saying. And she has a mission. She has a mission. In her heart, she has a mission. And the mission is against Israel. And it's a means of drawing people who are ignorant to Israel, who don't understand the significance of Israel, who have not read the Bible, who do not know the land that has a purpose for our eternity, has a purpose right now to be a light. And so when I read this, and there's so much more into this article, it's just, there's such bigoted hostility and an accusing spirit in this woman. And honestly, she should not be sitting on the Foreign Affairs Committee. She should not be there. And the people, Nancy Pelosi, as well as others who are, part of this United States government, need to recognize it and need to expel her from that position, because she is a dangerous voice. She is not a voice that is what the United States of America is about. It's not a republic voice. It's not a voice for the people. She has an agenda. And it's so spiritual. I mean, when you look at this, it's so spiritual, She also referred to Israel as a regime, a term reserved for terrorist countries. So she is totally twisting and giving a propaganda report to persuade people, to turn them against Judah, to turn them against the house of Israel, the nation of Israel. That's us.
Exactly.
There's an agenda with this woman. And to me, it's extremely concerning. And when I started reading this whole article, I just said, oh my goodness, she should be condemned, marginalized by fellow Democrats and others, and not given important posts. She's a dangerous voice. And if you've heard anything, if you've seen anything on the news, you've seen her boldness and you've seen her conviction. Mm-hmm. She has a conviction, but it's not a conviction to build. It's not a conviction to bring about unity. It's a conviction for division and destruction to the nation of Israel and the land of Israel. And she's a dangerous voice. She truly is a dangerous voice. And so the reason why we're bringing this forth is because I'm encouraging everybody, to do your due diligence. And this article, again, is the Zionist Organization of America. And I'm thankful that there's these voices, Christians and Jews United for Israel, standing and defending Israel. We need to be the watchman on the wall. We need to be able to, we say watch and pray and pray against this. But we also, that there's a practical side of all this. There's unfortunately, there's a political group, if you will, and the political group that we're up against is also in darkness. They're making decisions based on their understanding, which is not based on the Torah. So again, we encourage people, read the Torah, do a little word search about Israel, the future of Israel, the reason for Israel. See how many times it's written in the Bible, not only when Yaakov's name was changed to Israel, but concerning the land of Israel. Do a little due diligence on the history of Israel. And but this particular voice, please, I beg you to pray that there is a divine intervention to still that voice and to remove her from that foreign affairs position. She is a dangerous, it would be like, it's a cancer. It's a cancer. It's a terrible, terrible dis-ease that is embodied, if you will, in that particular body, and it's a very dangerous venom. And so we really have to, number one, trust that Abba, we need to pray, call upon God, call upon Jesus, call upon the Most High. Call out to Him and cry out to Him, because she is a danger to not only Israel, but to America. She's a danger to those countries who have a purpose and have a purpose to preserve life, not to destroy life.
It's amazing, and we're going to be closing with in a moment, but it's important to be diligent, important to be on the edge, knowing what's going on. Do not put blinders on, so that we, as you mentioned, Avigayle, that we can pray, we can act, we can take our faith into action. That's what faith is. Faith without works is dead. We can call our congressmen, we can write to our congressmen and senators and leadership, and express our opinions and our views based on the Judeo-Christian country that we live in. And most of us, that I would imagine, are Torah observant, Torah pursuant believers, and we are understanding what's happening. We see the degrading of America, but that's been going on since the beginning. I mean, since 1776 and beyond. Actually, even going back to the Pilgrims Puritan, after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, things, because there was what? There was mixture, people from all different types mixing, and then you get different groups here and different groups there, and different ways of doing things, so, but that's okay, because we are a nation within a nation. But we can pray for this nation. We can, because we live here. We are Americans, and we can do the due diligence and see what our elected officials are doing. Pray for those elected officials, that the Father raises up and brings down leadership, kings and whatnot. And we pray for our leadership all the time. From the last administration, this administration, and continuing in the next administration. We're just going to continue to pray whether we agree with them or not. We are going to continue to pray and ask for God's intervention in the life of the president, whoever that may be at the time, the vice president, all the secretaries, and all the people that are in the Senate and the Congress, because that's what we can do. And we can, if there's something like what happened in Virginia, what happened in Virginia with the governor and blatantly talking about abortion, that's an abomination, and we can come up against it. And this young woman who is a congresswoman from Minnesota, we can come against the evil words that she brings out against the state of Israel, against the people of Israel, against our Jewish brothers, and sisters, because what's going to happen is it's going to come back to us also. But we want to stand side by side with all those who stand for Israel, and just it's something that we need to do.
Yes, and the bottom line is this, okay? We have to be strong and of good courage. We can't allow fear to dictate to us in this response,
Amen.
in this respect. And the man that wrote this article says, we asked at the time why no one in the Democratic Party had come forward to criticize and challenge her statements, her anti-Semitic statements. Now remember this, if Jesus is Lord of your life, well, she's speaking against him. He's Semitic. If you're a Christian, if you are Messianic, if you are a believer in the Torah, observing and guarding it, she's speaking against you and your family, whether they're in Israel or whether they're in America.
Good point.
So it's a major concern for all of us, because words have a way of influencing, and we are called for every generation to influence people towards the light, to influence people towards their destiny. Well, our destiny is Israel. When you read where our Messiah is going to return, it's on Mount Olives. That's Israel. And I'm not worried about that, because it's going to happen.
Amen.
My main concern right now is this generation and the next generation. And if we don't deal with a dis-ease in the body of the politics, in the belly of decision-making for the foreign affairs, if we don't deal with it right away, that disease is going to spread.
Amen.
It's a contagious disease. Anti-Semitism is becoming a voice that needs to be dealt with. There's anti-Semitic words that are being spoken, and it's a very dangerous dis-ease. So we need to deal with it. We all need to do it with prayer, with our voices. One woman here in Massachusetts, 90-something years old, she saw in the curriculum of the schools in one of the towns here in Massachusetts, and it was it wasn't teaching. It was actually a dogma, a propaganda of embracing in a Jewish school, primarily Jewish children, Islam. It was right there in public books. The children were primarily Jewish, but a lot of others. And it wasn't an objective teaching. It was suggesting this is the only religion there is. And she fought it, and she won. So we can fight this. We can fight this. There's many ways.
The best way of doing it is really understand what Israel is and how it is a blessing to us, and that He's going to bless us that blesses them, and meaning all of us in terms of the state of Israel, the people of Israel, the children of Israel. But we can also, once we learn and educate ourselves into what's going on, because you mentioned the word apartheid. And that's a word that's been thrown around since like 2001 against Israel, and apartheid is basically just a policy of segregation and political and economic discrimination against non-European groups, mainly in the Republic of South Africa. That's where it all came from. Where you had a small white population and a large black population, and the whites ruled pretty much with an iron fist against the blacks, and there was a lot of ghettos and poverty, but the whites lived supreme. They're comparing that to the state of Israel. We've been there 10 times, and that is so much a lie. And because one, you have many Jewish people that live there, more than the Arabs, and it's just, there's in the Knesset there are Arab Knesset members. Where do you find that in any of the Arab world that there's Jewish Knesset members, or the government, in the government, whatever they are, senators, Congress, whatever they call themselves in the other countries? None, zero, zip. And when we're in Jerusalem, I mean, they are so free, and a lot of them are very friendly. I mean, they have that Eastern mindset, and they're very friendly. But because of the terrorism that takes place, and it has taken place since the start of this the state of Israel in 1948, Israel has had to have checkpoints and things like that and build walls and that has stopped a lot of the terrorism that has taken place. But in the meantime, it also stops people, because people in the Gaza Strip, there's nothing there. I mean, that's a big poverty center right there, and a lot of them want to go into Israel to work, but cannot because of the policy of the terrorism. But yet people say, oh no, you're going to let them in because you're suppressing them and all that kind of stuff. No, they're suppressing themselves. So we need to learn about the truth of what's going on over there so that we can educate our neighbors, our people in our workplaces, and people that we see, because that's what it's all about, because that's what they do. That's what the other side does. They put all this, in the college campuses, we've seen it a lot. They put out a lot of for a free Palestine, for this and that and the other thing. No such thing as a Palestine. I encourage you to look up where that came from and study it out. You'll never find the first king of Palestine or the first president or prime minister. You'll never find a language. You'll never find a currency. So we need to do our due diligence and study these things out. So we're just running about out of time.
Yeah, I just want to say again that you need, if you don't understand the significance of Israel, you've heard of Jacob, and Jacob is one of the children of Israel. He actually is the father Israel, and right. Jacob wrestled. He wrestled. If you're wrestling and you're trying to figure out what's going on, Eliyahu, the prophet, said, "Why are you between two opinions? Either you're going to, be with the God of Israel, the Creator of heaven and earth, or you're going to be with Baal. You're going to be with, the man, or the rulers of this world, as opposed to the Most High. You need to make a decision. You have to make a choice." So this right here, I believe that we are at a place in history,
at a crossroads
where we have to make a choice, and we have to be able to stand in the face of the enemy and speak out. Amen. Because you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised, pleasantly surprised, at what an influence your voice has with other people, yes, as well as to make a difference. We should not allow this to continue on. And we have to do whatever we can. As James says, you can write to, various politicians. You can mainly pray to the Creator of heaven and earth. But also do your due diligence. Get your heart stirred yourself by reading the scriptures about Israel, by doing it doesn't take long to study, even do a study of the history of Israel, and to see how Israel has always been under attack.
Yes.
So you know that if it's under attack, there's a special reason. That Israel is a very significant place on planet Earth. And so when I read this, and again, it's ZOA, and writes to Pelosi about anti-Semitism in the Democratic Party, and why people haven't spoken out, and why she is allowed to stay there in the Foreign Affairs Committee. This is not right. This is not right. It's not right at all. Really, if any of us had any kind of report that there was a cancerous tumor in our bodies, we would want it gone immediately. Well, this is a tumor that needs to be removed.
Amen. Spoken like a true surgeon. I love that. That is awesome. And that's so true. So thank you so much for watching. This has been the Israel Update with your hosts, James and Avigayle O'Hare. Thank you so much. Shalom, shalom.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Israel is mentioned 2,540 times in the Bible. Israel is a significant place on planet Earth.